Hit that like button, and hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell, and leave a comment to trigger YouTube's algorithm.
Beanz Lil Podcast. Hang on 1 second. I got you up. All right, my guy. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Don't say anything yet. All right, I got you. Oh, I think I've seen you before. Weren't you and I on a show together just recently?
No, not recently.
Oh, okay.
I would have remembered that.
Okay. You're frozen.
Oh no, that's just my image right now because I'm not. Oh. I don't actually have my camera.
Oh shit! I actually
so that's my OBS.
I thought your ass was on camera. Okay. All right. So what's on your mind?
Yeah, that's it. That's my OBS.
Yo, that really legit looks like you're on fucking camera. This thing is not moving. So what's on your mind, man?
Well, I wanted to jump in right where you were at on the Carmelo case, because the issue that I'm having with the case is that it seems like Black conservatives are having this conversation. It's like they're trying to convict the kid in the court of opinions. And the problem that I'm having with it is that I only hear them having that conversation from the angle of the kid who unfortunately perished and like his sibling and anybody else that's talking. Nobody is having a conversation from Carmelo's POV. And I'm trying to understand why that is.
I'm not Carmelo Anthony, so I don't know. My guess is that. Oh wait, hold on. That might have flown over my head. So you're telling us. So your contention is that nobody's talking about this from the point of view of Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, it's like. So what I'm hearing is people will say, oh, he stabbed the kid. He did this. He did that. Other people said this, other people said that, other people said that. But they
I got you. Okay, that makes sense.
He said. What about what he said though? He was in the inside of the experience. What he says doesn't matter at all.
It does matter, and what he says is all over the police report. He told the cops, "I did it," and then when he says, "I've got the alleged stabber," he says, "No, officer, it's not alleged. I did it." He said he put his hands on me, and that's why I stabbed him. Then he told the story. I went into the tent. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't think we've heard his account of the story. That's actually a very good point, that we haven't heard his, I guess, detailed account, like step by step.
So you see right there, that's already one acknowledgement, right? That's one acknowledgement right there that we haven't actually heard Carmelo Anthony's detailed account of the statement. We have a couple of choppy statements that he's made. So everybody who's having the conversation right now, they're having the conversation from the standpoint of a kid got stabbed. It was a Black kid stabbing a white kid. The kid lost his life. And the brother in the tent is saying that he was aggressive. Right? That's the information that everybody is working with. And that's the information that people think makes enough sense for them to say, yeah, guilty. Lock him up and throw away the key.
Right. But be that as it may, that doesn't mean that he's not guilty. Now, I do agree with you. On this point. We can't convict the kid in the court of public opinion. But guess what? We're not able to, okay? Because the court of public opinion, this case isn't tried in the court of public opinion, it's tried in the court of law. So yeah, we can convict him in the court of public opinion all we want to. What really matters is what happens in the courtroom.
No, absolutely. But I'm just saying, like, for me personally, right, when we have these conversations, I'm speaking, that's why I'm literally speaking specifically about Black conservatives, because that's what concerns me.
Okay.
Right. We live in a day and time where we have way more Black people who are aligning with conservatism, and it seems as if they choose to turn off their brains, right? They choose to turn off their ability to think for themselves and then just align with what they think the ideology or talking point should be coming from the political ideology that they subscribe to.
Well, hold on. This has nothing to do with any ideology, okay? Carmelo Anthony stabbed an unarmed student to death. My ideology, my conservative values has nothing. And I'll give you an example. Here. Okay. I am staunchly against abortion. Okay. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's not political or religious for me. For me, the reason I believe abortion is wrong is because I think it is wrong to kill people before they are born.
Now, I want to point this out. You see how right now he's using an example, right? He's using an example in the form of an analogy, right? To support his argument that what he is deciding, right? What he is choosing to believe, his estimation or summation of the Carmelo Anthony case has nothing to do with his conservative subscription or anything else. That he is just thinking through it for himself, right? And he's running it through his own lens. But somehow you'll see in the end, when I chose to use an example, right, to highlight precedents and the way we should be considering things sometimes, not just for people with white skin, but also with black skin, he tried to make it seem like I was making an excuse for Carmelo. But you'll see when we get there.
Right? It doesn't have anything to do with my religion or lack thereof. It doesn't have anything. And I'm not a religious, like I'm not an overly religious person. I am formulating I'm formulating my opinion based on what I know. It has nothing to do with my conservatism. It doesn't matter when one person, regardless of color, sex, whatever the case may be, when one person stabs another person unarmed, based on the facts that we know, yes, that is my opinion. My opinion is based on the facts. It's not based on my ideology. It's not based on my worldview. This is just a simple matter of the difference between right and wrong.
Well, let me give you this, right? Because I think actually I'm very careful with using this word to describe people. Okay. But I think you might actually be pretty smart. And the reason why I said it is because you're the first person who I heard give the take that you gave on Shannon Sharpe, which is that he tried to have sex with a sex worker for free.
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
I might actually have to clip that and respond to it on my own show because
clip it, man.
Nobody else is giving that take.
Yeah.
Right?
Shannon Sharpe tried to. And listen, you're familiar with the term "don't cheat." You can't cheat the game, and you can't cheat the game applies to every part of life. You got girl. You want to know how girls are out here trying to cheat the game? Trying to cheat the game with BBLs. That's why girls are dying with BBLs. Why? Because they're trying to cheat the game. If you want a nice ass, you got to get in the gym and work for it. Going down to Brazil and getting a BBL, that's cheating the game. Okay, just like you said, Shannon Sharpe tried to have sex with a sex worker without paying. That's cheating the game. It don't go down that way. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's the first time I've heard that take like that. So that was a pretty good take. But the reason why I'm saying that, the reason why I'm complimenting you first is because I want to make sure that your mind is open to receive this. When when a black person says, "Oh man, it was self-defense," and then people have this reaction to it in my space, and that's why I want to take it away from you. In my space where I'm at, I'm in the Angry Man Anton Daniels space. Okay, and in our space, those people will immediately be assigned liberal Democrat, right? Okay, But I wouldn't say that they were necessarily wrong if you did that, because if you start talking to them, it's probably more likely. But in the same way, with the people who are throw him away, put him in jail, he's a killer, and all that other stuff, they also happen to be conservative, right-leaning people, right? And so that's what I'm saying. It's like these takes are just being regurgitated from people, and it seems to be based on whichever side of the fence they're standing on.
And you could be right. Listen, you could be right. I'm telling you, man to man, I'm thinking for myself. Based on what I have seen and heard, I believe Carmelo Anthony is guilty of the crime of murder. Now, I will say this. A lot of people got up in arms when they heard that the bond got reduced from $1 million to $250,000. Right. I didn't really care. I didn't get upset with that because number one, he's got the ankle monitor on. Number two, he's not a flight risk, at least not yet. Number three, right. It's not like he's going to go out and stab and start stabbing people in Frisco, Texas. He's got the world is watching this kid. Number right. four, the reason why I don't have a problem with the bond reduction is this kid is likely going to prison. I mean, listen, and I'm not trying to straddle both sides of the fence, but I mean, let's try to be humane, and let's at least give this, if this kid has, a year or two of freedom left before he goes away for 20 to 25 years, the least we can do is allow him to spend it with his family. I don't think, and I'm not going to come on here and say, well, we should lock him up because he's going to go out and kill somebody else. Dude, Carmelo Anthony's not killing nobody else. Everybody's watching. We should lock him up because he's a flight risk. Carmelo Anthony dude, everyone knows who he is. He's not flying nowhere. The world knows about this case, and they don't have they don't have the means, at least not yet, to fly him anywhere. So as far as I'm concerned on that, I can definitely be objective in that regard.
And that's what he did right there. What he did right there was show that he does have a sense of objectivity, right? He shows that he can do it. But at the beginning of the statement, he said, based on the information that I have, he's guilty. And what he is assigning guilt to is first degree murder, right? As he said, sometimes referred to as capital murder, right? You don't have the information to assign that guilt. You don't have that information to convict him of that. This is what I'm trying to get him to realize, and all the rest of the conservative douchebags to realize, is you don't have the information. All you're going off of is one side of the story. Period, point blank. That's what you're doing. You're trying to say that you're being objective, but you're really not, because you assigning capital one first degree to a kid when you don't have all the information. Now, later in this stream, he's going to go and pull up and say, okay, it's saying this, it's saying this, it's saying this, as far as what the outline is for first degree, right? But then to me, again, wait until he reads this. I want y'all to see this, because what it boils down to is this. This is how you know I'm right about these people. If we move this case to another state, and let's say in that state, first degree was all you had to do was look at somebody wrong. You know what they would be arguing? He's guilty because he looked at him wrong. He needs to go to jail for the rest of his life. This is how you know they're not actually thinking for themselves. They're not actually going off the merits of the case and saying, yeah, the law may say this, but at the same time, this situation looks like this, so we should treat it like this. And that may mean that the law needs to change. That may mean that the law needs to adapt more criteria or different criteria. Because the thing about it is we set precedents a lot of times. And it's usually when that person's skin is white. Then all of a sudden it's okay to say, well, we know the law says this, but we're going to do this.
All of that said, based on what I've seen and heard, I believe Carmelo Anthony is guilty. Now I will say this, and then I'll hand it back off to you. What I am starting to realize is that there are a lot of black people who want to see Carmelo Anthony skate, whether he's guilty or not. And the reason they want to see him skate is because of the whole oppression thing. They've been getting at us, slavery and this and that and this and that and the third. This was the same sentiment with the OJ case. Myself, I was 18, 19 years old when the OJ verdict came down. I was happy for the same reason. I was like, you know what? Those cops beat the shit out of Rodney King and they got off. And so they deserve to lose Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman. And hindsight being 2020, that is not the right way to look at things.
See, and that part right there, he may have misspoke, right? Let me do my angry man real quick and extend grace to another content creator, right? He may have misspoke, but it wasn't, oh, they beat on Rodney King, so it's okay for them to lose Nicole Brown. It wasn't that. It's okay for OJ to get off. It's okay for OJ to be found not guilty. It's okay for us to believe OJ. Right? It's okay for us to be in denial about his guilt, because that's what was done to us in the Rodney King case. It didn't have anything to do with it's okay for them to lose Nicole Brown, because them didn't lose Nicole Brown. Her family lost her, not the government, not the judge or the attorneys or the jury or any of his other people. So again, he may have misspoke, but none of us was celebrating Nicole Brown losing her life.
Wrong is wrong is wrong. Those police officers should have been convicted for beating Rodney King, just the same as OJ should have been convicted for killing Nicole, again, based on what we've known and what we've seen.
Well, I can't necessarily disagree with that. Because honestly, it would be the only thing that made sense technically, to your point, based off of the information that we have. Sure. If you're just automatically assigning a verdict either way, right? And that's my point, is that whether you're doing it for guilty or not guilty, it seems to be based on some sort of political ideology, or feelings, like you're mentioning now, right? Feelings about the country or people or colors or demographics in one way or the other. But it's like when people use he said he did it. I'm like, well, why don't you say the whole statement that he said? He didn't just run out and say, yeah, I did it. And what? That ain't what he said. He said, no, officer, I'm not alleged. I did it. Does that sound like somebody whose intent was to kill? Well, when nobody brings up the fact that he asked, is he going to be okay? I don't hear people mentioning this at all. They're just going with, he stabbed the kid, he took a life, lock that nigger up.
Okay, yeah. Guess what? He still deserves to go to jail, even if everything you're saying is the truth. Because I agree with you. There are some conservatives that, like, for example, I'll give you
Wait, before he says this, do y'all see how many times he said, I agree with you? Do y'all see how many times he said, no, you're right? I should have been counting them and taking notes. Right? And the reason why that happens so often with people who aren't necessarily being disingenuous is because I'm not picking a side. That I'm usually 99% of the time, I'm not picking a side. I'm just going with what's right. Period, point blank. I'm just discussing what's right. Sometimes I may discuss what's fair, but I'm just discussing what's right. That's it. It don't have anything to do. It's definitely not based on my political ideologies, because I don't have none. I don't subscribe to the right or the left. Right?
An example, Jason Whitlock, he is a black conservative, blah, 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 right? 100% black conservative. I totally disagree on his stance about Deion and Shedeur Sanders. He really does not like him and that kid. I think that his opinion is driven by that ideology. But as far as I'm concerned, here's the thing. Just because black conservatives, just because their opinion is based on their ideology and their conservatism, doesn't mean they're not correct in their opinion that Carmelo Anthony is guilty of first-degree murder in the murder of Austin Metcalf. And I remember there's this one time, me and my brother were in a subway a long time ago, and we got into this debate about the NBA draft being rigged. I don't know how old you are, but did you hear about have you heard about the NBA being fixed with like the frozen envelope and all that other kind of stuff?
No, I've never.
Oh man, I'm not going to bore you with it. I'm not going to get into it. But he was like, Alex, like, dude, I'm telling you, it could have happened. And I said, you know what? You're right. It could have happened. But just because it could have doesn't mean that it did. Okay. Are there people who are racially motivated to say, lock that nigger up because they just don't like black people? Absolutely. But guess what, Beanz? There are people on the other side. There are black people saying, let that black boy go free because they are racist against white people. Whatever the case may be, whyever they have their opinion, the facts are the facts are the facts. Carmelo, and here's the thing, and here's the thing.
But Donovan, we don't actually have facts for first degree. That's my point. If you say he's guilty of taking a life, absolutely. But we don't have facts for first degree. So you see how I'm acknowledging that he is guilty of taking a life. Like this is how you know these people are who they are. This is how you know they stand on what side they stand on. Because they don't have all of the information. Their information is beyond limited. Limited is a laughable excuse for the amount of information that they have. And they are saying, yes, he needs to go to jail. Yes, it needs to be first degree. Yes, it needs to be 20 to 35 to 40 to 50 to life. So who's actually being disingenuous, right?
Let me ask you this. That's actually a very good point.
That's actually a very good point again, right? Y'all watching this, you probably wondering, how did this go bad? You'll see.
Still going to prison. He is guilty of, he might not be guilty, and I'm not a lawyer, and maybe he's not convicted of first degree murder. Maybe he's convicted of second degree murder. Maybe he's convicted of manslaughter, whatever the case may be. Either way, Carmelo Anthony needs to be held account for his actions. And I've come on and I've come on and said, unpopular opinion here, I'm just going to keep it real with you. I hope justice is served. If he is convicted of first degree murder, he's got to do all that time. But I don't, and I am, dude, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I've always been one that says, hey man, you can't use someone's worst moment as a referendum on their entire life. But all worst moments aren't created equally. This child killed another child, and he needs to be held account to that. But the human side of me says, you know what? I was a young black 17-year-old at one point, right? And I had a temper problem, right? And so I can sort of identify with who and what he is and what he's going through. The only difference is I was on the outs because of the way I talked, right? But the point is I was like, man, if I had committed something like that, I mean, I wouldn't want them to lock me up and throw away the key. And so now I'm actually thinking from Carmelo Anthony's, standpoint. If I'm Carmelo's dad, I want him to be held accountable, but I don't want him to never see the light of day again, right? But that's easy for me to say because I'm not the one whose son is 6 feet under. I'm sure that the Metcalf family probably wants them to, lock him up and throw away the key. So I've tried to be as objective as I possibly can with this. But again, based on what we know, I believe that Carmelo Anthony is definitely guilty of murder. Whether it's first degree or second degree, doesn't matter to me. He unjustifiably killed Austin Metcalf. And I think, and honestly, if I had to bet, I would not bet in the court of law. I wouldn't bet on his innocence or guilt because there is a better than average chance that he might get acquitted for reasons that have nothing to do with what he did.
And I think that statement right there, because I'm not sure what he actually meant by that, I have to assume that he meant by that, what was it? Last night, they said on Uncle Tom's show, feelings. The jury is going to have feelings, and they're going to play on the heartstrings of the jury and this and that, and they're going to use their feelings to make their judgment versus the law. So I have to assume that's the same thing that he meant by that, right? Because what else? I mean, it's not going to be I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a bench trial. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a jury trial. So I don't know what else he could have meant by that, except for the fact that the jury might play on the jury's heartstrings. Well, in my opinion, again, like you said, I'm not a lawyer, even though I've stood in front of a judge several times in my life.
Yo, real shit.
but the thing, if I would say this, first degree, I can see there where he might get acquitted. It just doesn't fit. Just off what I've heard, it doesn't fit. Even second degree doesn't fit to me. Manslaughter is a better charge in this situation. It fits to me. And to be honest with you, now I'm willing to give my opinion. It should be involuntary because I don't think it was his intent to take the life, right? His intent was to harm and get out of there, right? It's the same thing when they say if somebody big, when I was a kid, they said if it's somebody big or if it's 2 or 3 people, you hit the biggest one and you get out of there, right? And so he in this situation where it's him versus, in his opinion, from his point of view, it's more people in there, he's alone, right? So he hits the biggest one and he gets out of there. He just so happened to do it with a knife. And that ended in a life being taken. Now I'm gonna say this, and I'm not necessarily suggesting this, even though I'm not suggesting it here, even though I'm suggesting it elsewhere. Sure. When I was 17, I got caught with drugs. Okay. And I was going to court, and it was my first offense. Everybody and their mama was telling me you would be all right. They not gonna send you to prison. So,
oh shit.
But I was still scared. So what I did was I signed up for military school. And the judge was like, oh, okay, so you're going to go to this military school? Okay, cool. Then I'll give you 18 months probation. And I went to the military school. Now I ended up getting kicked out of the military school for fighting. And I loved it, though. I'm not going to lie. I loved every minute of being at that military school.
Okay.
To me, they need to create more options like that. Now, people might say that ain't good enough for a situation where life was taken away.
It's a start,
I'm just
right?
saying, in general, because I don't know what people think about prison, but the recidivism rate in prison is ridiculous.
Of course.
They get more prisoners back in there than corporations get people back on the job. Okay? Like you go in there, it's if you got about a 70% chance of coming back. Okay, that's really horrible. So I'm just saying, like, we need something other than that, especially when intent matters. If you know about the case of the kid, and I'm just gonna mention it, he just before I let that play. See, and this is what I'm saying. It don't matter what the situation is. When the person who commits the act is a black person, all anybody thinks is jail. They have conditioned not just white people, not just Hispanics, not just Asians, not just Arabs. They have conditioned even black people to see other black people in chains or behind bars as acceptable in any situation. Forget precedents. Forget the what am I thinking about? What's the word? They're using it specifically for I want to say the merits of the case, but it ain't that. It's the evidence. Forget the evidence. We don't care about no evidence. The person who committed the act was black, chains and bars. That's where we at. I'm telling you, man, the people in this country, the powers that be, I ain't got to say no name, white people, these some of the coldest folks, coldest pimps, coldest masters. Like, y'all got it. I ain't gonna lie. When it come to this domination, when it come to brainwashing, when it come to straight just being the masters on this planet, man, y'all the coldest at it. Nobody ain't as good as y'all. No, they can say whatever they want. You know, black people was doing it in Africa too. Not this well. Obviously. Because they ain't had no white slaves. Man, I'm talking about the coldest at this game. People have, it could be something that happened over the course of a minute, and you give these people 3 seconds and they got the case solved. Yep. Chains and bars, please. It's a cold game. Just so happened to be white. He just so happened to be affluent. He's driving, young, no license, under the influence of alcohol at a minimum, maybe even drugs. I don't really necessarily remember. Driving, speeding, hits a van, takes the life of 4 people, critically injures another. He gets 10 years probation for 4 deaths and 1 other person critically injured. And they said his defense was called affluenza. Now, I want y'all to watch how he responds to me using my example and my analogy. The same way how he used abortion as his example, right? To illustrate the point that he was making. Now, when I use my example, watch how he responds to it. I'm so wealthy that I don't understand the consequences of my actions.
It sounds to me, respectfully, hold on. Respectfully, it sounds to me like you're trying to justify Carmelo's actions. And
I'm not justifying his actions.
It sounds.
You hear me? You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? How am I justifying his actions by bringing up another case where precedence was set? See, do y'all ever remember me saying I don't like complimenting people? Because right after I compliment them, they make me regret it. I told him a few minutes ago in this stream, man, you seem to be pretty smart because of that take that he gave on Shannon Sharpe, because I haven't seen anybody else look at it from that angle. And I meant it when I said it. But here we are right now. Right now, he's pretending that this don't have anything to do with him being a black conservative who wants to see the nigger boy thrown under the jail for taking an innocent white life. He's pretending that's not the case. Because now when I'm using my example and my analogy, you want to say that I'm trying to justify something else. When what I'm literally saying is the kid got convicted, but he didn't go to jail. I literally just gave you an example of me getting a conviction, but I didn't go to jail. So how would I be justifying Carmelo's actions? I'm telling y'all, subscribers, is not an indication of how smart somebody actually is. And I don't even mean to try to be disrespectful to the brother, because I hope to do more shows with him in the future. But this right here, when people want to stand on their political ideologies versus the truth, that shit is suspect to me. I would put that in the same closet with undercover homos. I would put that in the same closet. Ain't nothing wrong with being gay, but it's damn sure something wrong with having a wife and kids and your woman don't know you gay. And you sleeping with men behind her back because you don't just want to be out in the open about who you really are. These cats need to be out in the open about who they really are. We are black conservatives, and if there's any situation between a black person and a white person, we're going to automatically demonize the black person. If a white person get hurt in a situation, the black person is automatically guilty and needs to go to jail, and we don't need to even discuss it. If we have a conversation, everybody better be in agreement, or we're going to treat them like they're trying to justify some bullshit.
Like it really it sounds it sounds like you are. And by the way, here are the elements for first degree murder in Texas, also known as capital.
Watch this, y'all.
Murder.
Listen to this.
Element number 1, the intentional or knowingly causing the death of an individual. Number 2, intending to cause serious bodily injury and committing an act clearly dangerous to human life that results in death. Or number 3, committing or attempting a felony other than manslaughter, and during the commission or attempt causing death by an act clearly dangerous to human life.
Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this. This is what I mean when I say, oh, they don't care about the truth. They don't care about precedence. They don't care about how we should judge cases when the person who is the quote unquote defendant is black. That don't matter now. Nope. The law says this, so therefore, fuck you. Right? That's pretty much how they view it. If you notice, those first two criteria that he used, or not that he used, but those first two criteria that he read, both started out with the words intention. So it was their intention to do it. The reason why that third criteria is there is so they can lock up people who is not their intention. That don't mean they're going to lock up everybody whose is not their intention. But when we got this nigga on the case, yeah, now we can use this against him. We can charge him with first degree. which doesn't make any sense. Because I guarantee you, if we read second degree, it would read similarly to what he read on that third criteria. Let's listen to it one more time. I'm so wealthy that I don't.
Let me ask you another question. This is a good conversation. Life that results in death.
Is it or and? Is it or?
No, it's or. It's or, my friend. Or in Texas, also known as capital murder. Element number one, the intentional or knowingly causing the death of an individual.
Intentional.
Number two, intending to cause serious bodily injury and
intending to
and committing an act clearly dangerous to human life that results in death. Or number three, committing or attempting a felony other than manslaughter and during the commission or attempt causing death by an act clearly dangerous to human life.
Now think about what that represents. That's it, committing a felony, right? So basically what that is saying is you're committing, you're in the commission of another crime. That's what that's saying. You robbing somebody, you carjacking somebody, you breaking in somewhere. You're committing another crime. And then in the commission of that other crime, you cause great bodily harm or take the life of somebody. That's what that's saying. Right? Him stabbing the kid is the actual act. That's not him in the commission of another crime. But when he read it, even the first time, to me, it sounded like, oh, they just saying if you take the life, then they can just charge you with first degree murder if they want to. Now, when I listen to it again, now it sounds like in the commission of a crime. So he wasn't in the commission of a crime. Again, those three statutes don't the merits of this case off the information that we have so far. But they want this kid gone down. Even though Donovan did say he don't care if it's first degree or second degree, he feel like he just needs to be convicted, right? He needs to be held accountable, whatever. But listen to what he says.
Dude, he meets element.
Wait, is it or and? Is it or?
No, it's or, my friend. Or and that this is where they've got him. Intending to cause serious bodily and committing. I'm sorry. Let me repeat that. Intending to cause serious bodily injury and committing an act clearly dangerous to human life that results in death. That right there.
So he's saying the second criteria fits, but it doesn't. See, this is what I mean. How do you know? When I asked him earlier why nobody is speaking from Carmelo's point of view, he said, we ain't in Carmelo's mind. So if you're not in his mind, then how do you know he was intending? How do you know what his intentions was if you're not in his mind? All you have to do is just listen to people. I promise you, they will show you the bullshit that they really own. Okay? Don't make them necessarily bad people, but in my opinion, it definitely makes them untrustworthy, which you can argue is a bad person. If you're not trustworthy, you're probably a bad person. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not trying to cast, any aspersions on the guy. I'm just saying, you stand on business. I am a black conservative who is going to root against any black person in any situation where they may be a defendant. Stand on business.
Carmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf not in the foot, not in the shoulder, not in the arm, not in the stomach. He stabbed him in the heart. I mean, listen, based on what, and who knows, maybe Google is wrong, but this is why they arrested him is because the actions he took met the element of first degree murder. Let me ask you another question. This is a good conversation, actually.
Yes, exactly. I agree with you.
What would you have to see? What would you have to see? And
I gotta say this right after saying that it's a good conversation, this is where he ruins it. Right now, I'm gonna walk y'all through this, not walk you through it, but I'm gonna show you the elements that kind of messed it up. Let's go.
Here to be convinced of in the stomach, he stabbed him in the heart. See, what would you have to see and hear to be convinced of Anthony's guilt. Actually, let me preface it with this. Mm-hmm. If there is video, and I just want to make sure I'm straightforward and 100% honest with people. If there is video, if there is video of the act or of the activity, if there is video that exonerates Carmelo Anthony, I will be the first to come on here and say, guys, I got it wrong. If there is a video that shows Austin Metcalf pulling out a knife and saying, hey, get up out of this tent or I'm going to stab you. If there is video of him, of him being ganged up on, if there is video of Austin Metcalf having a weapon and accosting Carmelo Anthony, and Carmelo Anthony, hey, you know what? I will be the first to come on here and say, guys, I got it wrong. I'm going to have to wait. If there's another case like this, I'm going to have to wait until I hear and see all the facts before giving my opinion. So now my question to you, Beanz, is what would you have to, I just told you what I had to see and hear to convince me of Carmelo's guilt. What would you have to see and hear to convince yourself, of Carmelo's innocence? What would you have to see and hear to convince you of Carmelo's guilt?
Now, the question that he just asked, and I'm not gonna lie, right here when he asked it of me, I felt like he was being disingenuous. Right? And the reason why I felt like he was being disingenuous is because he's adding in elements that he know doesn't exist. He know those elements don't exist. Not one single account has stated that the Austin kid ever had a knife and was trying to stab Carmelo. You see what I'm saying? So he's basically saying there's no actual way that he can be convinced of Carmelo's innocence. The thing that it would take for him to be convinced is something that he knows doesn't actually exist. Something that up to this point he knows isn't in the story. And that's why I felt like it was disingenuous to ask me that, because now you telling me to answer the question and make up some shit that we know ain't there. And then I feel like as soon as I say that, then your response is gonna be, oh, it need all that, it take all that, right? So I felt like he was being disingenuous, but y'all know me. I'm gonna answer questions. I'm gonna play along. I don't really care. All right, let's go. So first I want to say nothing. The reason why I'm saying nothing is because I already believe he's guilty. Did you hear me say that? There's nothing anybody could show me because I already believe he's guilty. He's guilty of taking a life. There's no way around that. One more time. I'm saying nothing is because I already believe he's guilty. He's guilty of taking a life. There's no way around
that's not,
that.
Okay, no. Let me.
You see what I'm saying? There's no.
No. Hold on. No. Beanz. You keep telling me he is guilty of taking a life. I'm asking you straight up. No. I'm asking you straight up, point blank. Is there a world in your mind? And listen, I just sat here and told you.
This is bullshit. Let's rewind it so y'all can hear it again. Listen to what he asked me. Is because I already believe he
exonerates Carmelo Anthony. I will be opinion. So now my question to you, Beanz, is what would you have to? I just told you what I had to see and hear to convince me of Carmelo's guilt. What would you have to see and hear to convince yourself? Of Carmelo's innocence. What would you have to see and hear to convince you of Carmelo's guilt?
What would you have to see or hear to convince you of Carmelo's guilt? That's what he asked me. Did I not answer that? What would you have to see or hear to convince you of Carmelo's guilt? Let's listen. So first I want to say nothing. The reason why I'm saying nothing is because I already believe he's guilty. I already believe he's guilty. Guilty of what? He's guilty of taking a life. Oh, so I already believe he's guilty of taking a life. So what would actually be the reason that Donovan now wants to pretend like I'm somehow being disingenuous? You know what the reason is? Because he wants me to say he's guilty of first-degree capital murder. There's no way around
that's not.
that.
Okay, no. Let me.
You see what I'm saying? There's no.
Hold on. No. Beanz. You keep telling me he is guilty of taking a life. I'm asking you straight up. No. I'm asking you straight up, point blank. Is there a world in your mind? And listen, I just sat here and told you. Okay, I'm being honest with you. I want you to be honest with me. Don't talk around this, okay? Because you're a smart guy. You really are.
Not. I'm saying.
I want no. Hold on. I want you to hear what I'm saying. If I see video if I see video that shows that Carmelo Anthony's life was in danger and that Austin Metcalf had a knife and that Carmelo Anthony literally feared for his life, if I see that video, I will be the first to come on here and say, you know what? Carmelo Anthony is 100% innocent. The reason I'm asking you the same question on the other side is because I want to know if you came into this conversation in bad faith. Is there a world? What would you, Beanz Lil Podcast, have to see to convince you of Carmelo Anthony's guilt? I told you what I would have to see to convince me of Carmelo's innocence. I asked this question for a reason, and I think we all know what that reason is. So
yes, because you're on some bullshit and you're being disingenuous. Unfortunately, right after saying how good the conversation has been, you chose to take it this route, right? I don't know if you're doing it on purpose because you wanted to create the drama. I don't know. But here's the thing. Again, he just stated what he would need to see, right? Which is some shit that is not in reality. It doesn't exist. Not one person, including Carmelo, has ever stated that that kid had a knife and was coming at him. Right? So maybe I don't necessarily want to play that dumbass game. Well, I have to make up some shit. I don't have to make up some stuff. I can go off of what is in reality. And in reality, I already think he's guilty. You just asked me about his guilt. And I told you I already think he's guilty. So how am I dodging anything? You want me to say what you want me to say, which is he's guilty of first-degree murder, capital murder. Needs to be thrown away for 20 years to 99 years and all this other shit. And I'm not going to say that because I don't have the data, the facts, or the evidence to support that kind of conviction.
Now, what say you?
Because I'll be honest, at first I didn't like the way you were framing your example because it's like, well, we know that didn't happen. But I see now there's a premise to you asking the question that way.
Well, no. So what I was saying is that if I see evidence, if I see a video where Austin Metcalf has a knife and he attacks Carmelo, guess what? That's dude. You got to drop the charges. Get him.
But what I'm saying is we both know that's not going to happen. You see what I'm saying?
We know that's
not the case in the situation.
So what you are now, this is what I was getting at. So what you're telling me is that there is nothing that you can see or hear that will convince you of Carmelo.
Well, I haven't answered it yet. I'm just saying the way that you framed it.
Okay, well, go ahead. Well, then what? Forget all that.
Now I understand why you asked it that way.
Okay, so now answer the question.
So so for me, it would have to be what if the situation went the way that the report says, because I'm gonna be more realistic. If the situation went exactly the way the report reads, then I would say he was guilty.
Let me stop you right there. Hold on. Let me stop you right there. No, you're right. Let me stop you right there. Here's the thing, Beanz, and I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up. In criminal court, okay, the standard of proof is guilt beyond all reasonable doubt, not guilt beyond the shadow of a doubt. Beanz, okay? There is a big difference between reasonable doubt and shadow of a doubt, okay? We are not going to know everything that even if there's video, we're not going to know what went through people's heads. We're not going to know what other people there are a lot of mitigating circumstances that could really change this. This is why the standard of proof in criminal court is guilt beyond all reasonable doubt, not guilt beyond the shadow of a doubt. So you're telling me that the only way you would be convinced that Carmelo Anthony is guilty of first-degree murder is if you see evidence that he is guilty beyond the shadow of a doubt.
Checkmate. Do y'all believe me now, bro? Do y'all get it now when I tell y'all I'm smarter than these people? Did I not tell y'all the real reason why he was asking me that question was to question my answer after I gave it to him? It was a disingenuous question. It didn't matter what I said. He was going to question it somehow, some way. Oh, you need that? Oh, you need that? Oh, you need this? Now he just said, oh, you need beyond a shadow of a doubt instead of a reason. But I didn't say any of that. See, because he was misunderstanding what I meant. He just wanted to respond. The question was a setup question. It was bullshit from the gate, right? And all he did was exactly what I told y'all. Question what my answer was going to be. But he not even really listening to me. I'm finna explain to him why. No. I'm saying, like, listen, like, use the words that I'm using, Donovan. Right, because we had a great conversation up to this point, right?
Go ahead, please, because I got other guys, but I think you're trying to skate around this, man. I think you're trying to skate around this, dude. I think you're trying to skate.
Oh, almost forgot. Did y'all hear him not say? Watch this. Let me rewind it. Hold on.
You would be convinced that Carmelo Anthony is guilty of first-degree murder.
Checkmate. You see what I'm saying? The question that he asked me was, what would you need to see to be convinced of his guilt? And now he's saying convinced of first-degree murder. Checkmate. I'm telling y'all, all y'all got to do is listen to these people. They are full of shit. And then they get mad at you because you smart enough to peep they bullshit and they can't handle it. They get frustrated that they can't fucking trip you up with their bullshit. I told y'all, that's all he was trying to, he was saying the word guilt, but he was really implying first-degree murder.
Is if you see evidence that he is guilty beyond the shadow of a doubt.
No. I'm saying, like, listen, like, use the words that I'm using, Donovan, right? Because we had a great conversation up to this point, right?
Go ahead, please, because I got other guys, but I think you're trying to skate around this, man. I think you're trying to skate around this, dude. I think you're trying to skate around it, man.
Well, that's unfortunate because I think.
Well, it's unfortunate, but it's also true. I don't think that there is a world. Listen, hold on. Okay, hold on. Stop it. I just need you to answer the question. Don't talk about how I framed it. Oh, no. Hang on a second. I'm going to say this one more time, okay? I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I don't want you to put words in mine. I'm going to tell you, okay? There is a world, and we can dispense with that thank you stuff. Come on, man. Like, really? There is a world in the world of Donovan Sharpe, Alex Hopkins, where if I could admit that if I see that Carmelo Anthony's life was in danger, I will be the first to come on here and say I was wrong. Okay? If I see, and if we want to go shadow of a doubt, if Austin Metcalf had a knife and he attacked Carmelo Anthony with it, and Carmelo Anthony stabbed him in the heart, guess what? He is innocent. He is innocent of all charges. He should get to go home. The rest is history. I'm asking you the same thing. And this is me being genuine. There is a world where I can see where Carmelo Anthony could be innocent. I'm not saying he's 100% guilty, but unless I see video that shows me the contrary, he's guilty. So now I'm asking you, what would you have to see to convince you of Carmelo Anthony's guilt?
Right. So uninterrupted, right? I answered that though. That's what I said. I said if the events played out the way that report reads, he's guilty. Because to me, that would say he went in there he went in there looking for a confrontation. That's premeditated. Because the way we longer, on my show, we actually pulled up the police report we read what it said. And I'm like, no conversation goes like this. Now let's say they have a video and the conversation actually went exactly like that. Then he's guilty. No way around.
See, you said exactly like that, right?
Yeah, because that's what they said happened. So if it happened exactly the way that report read, yeah, absolutely, because that means he went in there looking for a confrontation.
Here's the thing, Beanz. Okay,
Remember, he was asking me, right? What would it take for me? So why the fuck would you even have any type of rebuttal or any of that other shit behind you asking me what would it take for me? If you was just asking genuinely, if you gave me your what would it take and I'm giving you my what would it take, why would you have an issue with my what would it take? And here's the thing, my what would it take is based in reality. You made up some shit about the other dude having to have a knife and be coming at him when I'm just saying this is what they said in the report, how it went. And if it went that way, then yes, I'll concede. How about that? But see, this is why these guys will never come to my channel, because on my channel, they won't be able to just overtalk. They won't be able to silence you. They won't be able to duck and dodge. They ain't gonna get away with that shit. I could rip these dudes apart with not even trying. I understand the type of bullshit that they be on. I can read them very well. They can't hide it from me. You're not gonna find no situation like this where they're on the side of the black person. It doesn't exist. So I'm already knowing where your takes are coming from. And because I know where your takes are coming from, it makes it easy to diagnose you. They don't know where my takes is coming from, because I'm not a Republican. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not a Q. I'm not a Sigma. I didn't go to a HBC. I didn't go to a HWC. They can't pin me down to nothing. So this is why, for me, it's always a damn checkmate, because I just live in reality. Think about that. My answer is, if the testimony in the police report, if they have video evidence of it going exactly like that. Now, whose situation is more logical, mine or his? Well, in his situation, the white kid had to have had a knife and coming at him. Meanwhile, again, we could look at all these other situations where that wasn't the case. You got George Zimmerman walking around right now. His life wasn't in no danger. Trayvon didn't have no gun. He wasn't under threat. But you know what he gonna say about that? Some bullshit ass excuse that includes the law and all this other dumb shit. And the Skittles was a weapon. Come on, man. Y'all gotta know who these fucking people are by now. I'm not saying don't subscribe to them. I'm not saying don't send them no super chats. I'm not saying none of that. The only thing I ever ask from you all, the audience, when it comes to dealing with these douchebags, is hold they motherfucking asses accountable in the chat. If you're gonna send a super chat calling their ass out. Like I just did. Watch this.
It takes a split second to develop intent. Okay, just because he didn't go into the tent with the now this is going to get a little bit it's going to get a little bit hairy, because a lot of these words sound the same. Yeah. If he does not have to have the intent to walk into the tent to stab and kill Austin Metcalf. It does not. It takes a split second for the element of intent to be met. Carmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf he stabbed him in the chest, right? He stabbed him in the chest. The intent was to inflict serious bodily harm. Unfortunately, the result was the death of Austin Metcalf. That is why I believe that he is guilty of first-degree murder. But you're and I don't want to get all into the weeds. So you're telling me is if it went exactly the way it said in the report, then you would say he's guilty.
Yeah, because in my opinion, that means he went in there looking for a confrontation. In your mind, if you don't think so, hold on. So you're telling me that he didn't go into the tent looking for a confrontation, right? So what if it's proven that he didn't go into the tent looking for a confrontation? Is he not guilty? Not of first degree, in my opinion, no.
Okay.
But I want to say this real quick.
No, hold on. Let's keep going. No, hold on. Let's keep going with this.
I guess so. That's what I'm saying. I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying.
I hear you.
Remember when I brought up the teen kid who hit those people in the van? The reason why I brought that up is because what that shows is there is precedence, right? Set in cases a lot of times, just not with people who look like us. But what I'm saying is because when you think about it and you consider what they allowed, the grace that they showed for him, what I'm saying is in this same situation, it can be applied if you understand. You're saying now that intent can be just 1 second. That is crazy. First degree is
that's the way the law. It's crazy,
First
but that's
is
no. Hold on, Beanz,
premeditated.
bruh. Listen, you might think that's crazy, my friend. That's the law. Okay, that's the law.
That's my and this right here, bro. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is what's wrong with black conservatives to me, right here. That's the law bullshit. This is the worst argument ever. And I'm being hyperbolic on purpose right now, because it really boils my blood. Like, I don't wish harm on nobody, but like if he was riding a bicycle and, you know, got hit by a car, like, not like to the point where nothing, like, I ain't saying I don't want nothing to be broke on him, but like if he just got tapped by a car and fell and scraped his leg and his chin and his elbow, I think it would be fitting to making this fucking argument. It's the law argument shows me exactly what type of person you are. I promise you. Because that means no matter what the law is, you would argue for it. That means you would be okay with slavery. You would be okay with rape. You would be okay with molestation. You would be okay with anything as long as it was in the law. And you can't argue against it because you're the one making a law argument. The second you say it's the law, that shows me what kind of person you really are. Point about being able to set precedents, because
I'm not looking at
that means it wasn't premeditated.
All right.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay. So you're telling me that because it wasn't premeditated, he's not still guilty of murder.
Not of first degree.
I think you're splitting
straws. Let me ask you a question. When we hear first degree, do we not say premeditated every single time?
No. First degree murder. I don't see. What do you do?
Listen, right here. This is how you know he's full of shit, right? Because he want to play his black card when he want to play his black card. If I go right now to the hood and ask any black person, what's the difference between first degree murder and second degree murder, they're going to say first degree murder is premeditated. Everybody going to say that. It's not about whether or not it's true or false. The question was, when we hear that, is that not what we think? That's how we distinguish first and second, is that we look at first degree as premeditated.
Dude, it says I'm being no, and I'm telling. Hold on. See, this is what I'm. Hold on. I really need you to stop talking. This is what I'm talking about. We're sitting here splitting hairs about what's first degree and what's intent. One of the elements that has to be met for first degree murder is intending to cause serious bodily injury and committing an act clearly dangerous to human life that results in death. Nothing in there says anything about premeditation.
It literally says intending to, though. That's the point. You said you aren't in Carmelo's mind, which means you can't determine his intention. So if it says intending to, check fucking mate. It's how we know y'all. I don't want to use these words to describe you, Donovan, because you didn't use no words to describe me. You just said what you thought I was doing, and so I'm trying not to go there with you. But this shit is coming off very coonish, fam. Either you in Carmelo's mind or you ain't. Which one is it? Because if you ain't in his mind, then you can't determine his intent. And if once you acknowledge you can't determine his intent, then you can't fucking argue that he intended to. And that the situation meets the intention criteria. What the fuck is happening? Yo, it don't matter what channel I go to. Them niggas can have 100 subscribers or 1 million subscribers. They can have no super chats. They can have thousands of dollars in super chats. They can be uneducated, educated, light skin, dark skin, black, white. All you motherfuckers are retarded. This shit is crazy to me. You have no evidence to meet intention, and yet you're arguing for it.
It says nothing about premeditation.
And again, just so nobody's confused, I didn't say the law said anything about premeditation. I said, what do we think when we hear it? That was the point I was trying to make to him, is that we think that that's what the fuck that shit means. So why the hell would I be sitting here saying, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. I'm not gonna say that. Nobody would think that. Go ask any non-black conservative person in the hood, do they think what Carmelo did was first degree? And they're gonna tell you no. Because when we hear first degree, we assume that that shit means premeditated, bro. Now, let's do this real quick, just because. Premeditated. The definition of premeditated is thought out or planned beforehand. Right? And this is why he was trying to argue that intention can come in a split second. And that's why I said that's fucking stupid. To me, that's fucking stupid. Because that's saying I'm standing right here. I ain't doing shit. I ain't thinking about nothing. I ain't bothering nobody. Some dude comes, puts his hands on me. I do some shit to retaliate to him, to retaliate against him. He dies from it. And now y'all gonna say it was my intention to kill him. Get the fuck out of here. And this is why I be saying anybody who argues for the law is really just a piece of shit, bro. It is. Do you know how often laws change? Let's Google this. How often do laws change? AI overview. Laws can change frequently, from local ordinance to municipal laws that adapt to the community needs to federal laws that evolve with social shifts and economic considerations. Laws change. If we was living in a time right now where it was a law against black and white interracial marriage, you know what Donovan would be saying? Well, it's the law. Meanwhile, he's sitting his ass up here with a whole white woman. And I don't care about the white woman. He'll hear this and think that I actually care. I don't care. I care about you being a fucking hypocrite. You know damn well just because something is the law don't make it right. And that's why if you are okay with precedents being set in cases with white people, why are you so against it being set in this case with this black man? So after this, he ended up dropping me down, right? Because he don't like the fact that I just wasn't conceding and agreeing with his bullshit take that this brother needs to be thrown away for the rest of his life. I don't even want to show that. I don't even want to show that because they think that shit ain't nothing. I find that shit is disrespectful. So we don't even need to see that. Anyway, I've once again been substantiated. It's your boy Beanz, aka Lil Podcast. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. Make sure you support the stream. Share this with your friends. Share it on your social medias. We out.
Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button and hit that bell and leave a comment to trigger YouTube's algorithm.